You're restoring me piece by piece.
What's up, my restored beauties? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a topic that most of you have heard, but I would like to share a personal story and how I learned to be content in the situation that I was back then to move to where I am right now. So we're going to share the secret of true contentment. Are you content with you, who you are, with the way your body looks? Are you content with your marriage? Are you content with your spouse? Are you content with your health? Are you content with your job? Are you content with your house? There was a guy who once said this: I have learned to be content in whatever state I am. I know how to be abased and live humbly in strained circumstances, and I know how to enjoy plenty and live in abundance. That saying you can find in Philippians 4:11-12. Well, Uncle Paul, I have not arrived in that state yet, but I'm learning. Life is teaching me, and I will share a moment in my life where I had to learn to be content in my circumstances. Why is this so important, to learn to be content in the situation that you are? Now, don't get me wrong, being content and settling, there's two different things, okay? So being content means you are content with the situation that you are. You're thankful, you're grateful for where you are, you know, like you want, but you don't want to settle because you know there's better, you know. But here's where most of us make the mistake, and it's hard for us to jump into the future and grab onto something greater, something better, you know, because first we gotta learn here, like we gotta learn to move from the side to the side to the future. So we gotta learn to be content right where we are first. So I'm going to share a personal story on how I learned to be content, to move from this side to this side. And this is just one instance. I've had many in my life, but just wanting to share this one with you guys. If we don't learn to be content in our current situation, it's hard for us to move into the future, and to move into and grab hold of the blessings that God has for us in the future. While we were praying and looking for a house, this one that we have now, this is 2 years ago, okay? I even before, you know, I was always thankful. I always prayed. I mean, I always thank God about the tiny apartment that we lived in the city in Queens. And I mean, it was tiny, okay? I grew up poor in a sense of like poor as in what you guys call poor here, but I grew up in a farm, so we had a huge, you know, space to live. Like we had a huge land, you know, big house, but we were poor in the sense of like, you know, we didn't have a car, we didn't have like a lot of money, but we were happy. So to come here and then live in that tiny apartment, for me, it was more, it wasn't that I wasn't thankful, it was more like I was claustrophobic, you know, because of the space, and I wasn't used to it, you know. I was just like the kitchen, the living room, just sleeping, everything was in one area, so it was a little hard. But I did thank God for it all the time. And then, but somehow I started losing that type of attitude, that thankful attitude, once I was exposed to, oh, I can have better. While I started to allow these thoughts to be coming into my head, and I was feeding them, these thoughts started poisoning my soul, basically, because I started then thinking like this: well, why can't we have that house? Why can't we live there? Why, God? Why can't you get that house for us? Why can't we live in that neighborhood? And then I started blaming God. God, why can't you bless us? You know, we're good people, we go to church, we read the word. So I started pointing my finger at God for not blessing us. And that type of attitude that was developing in me, it was also hindering me from moving on. It was hindering me, my entire family, from actually going and holding on, grabbing hold onto God's blessings. God loves all of us, and He has great plans in store for our lives. See those two verses there? Those are my favorite verses, and they remind me every day. God has plans for us, you know, for our future, to give us hope and to give us a future. But we have to trust Him. And meanwhile, while we're waiting and trusting in Him, we have to be thankful and grateful for the situation that we are in at the moment, you know. So whatever you're trying to whatever you're praying for in life, you know, whether it's your health, whether you need a new car, a new house, a new location, whatever in life that you're praying for, you have to pray and give it to God and trust Him. And no matter how long it takes, sometimes it takes long, and sometimes it's just, that's how God works. And there's sometimes it's because He's trying to fix your attitude. He's trying to help you fix your attitude. And that's the issue with me. I had an attitude. I completely lost, I got lost in thinking, into feeding my thoughts in my head, you know. Oh yeah, we can have this, we can have that, we're God's children, this and that. But I got lost, and I started resenting, you know. It's like, you know, started resenting God and being angry, you know. Why can't we have this, you know, these people, they don't even serve you, they're like, you know, this and that, and they have better. And then I start forgetting and being thankful that I have a roof over my head, you know, at least, you know, and we have food, we're not begging, my husband has a good job, we're healthy. So I started forgetting about that, and I started developing this negative attitude because I wanted this, I wanted that, you know. And that type of attitude is wrong, and it's like a disease, and it takes time to uproot, and only God can uproot it. And one day I was desperate and frustrated, and I needed answers, and I decided to humble myself and start praying by thanking God first for what I have, what He has already given us. And I started listening to Him instead of just me there, you know, blabbing and saying, I want this, I want that. And I sensed in my spirit God saying me, I needed to be thankful. I needed to be thankful for where my feet were standing in order for me to move into a bigger territory. At first, I was stubborn and did not want to listen, but then I humbled myself and started praying because I did not want to be a stumbling block, you know, from stopping God's blessing into my life. Because you can, you know, with your mouth, you stop your blessings, you know. God wants to bless us, but if you're just sitting there whining and complaining, I mean, it's obvious nobody wants to be in front of you. So on purpose, I got up, and every time I prayed on purpose, like I was just thanking God about every inch of that apartment, about every detail, about the fridge, about the cold water, the warm water, the bathroom, the toilet, every food that we were eating, the TV, for our bed, for everything that we owned, we had in that apartment. We had access for His job, for the car, for everything, you know, everything that we were given there by God. I started thanking Him on purpose every single day until it became an attitude, a daily attitude, you know. Because sometimes the devil will always deceive you into waking up one day and just saying, I'm tired, I don't want to pray the same thing again. You sound boring to God. Being thankful every day for what you have, what you go through, what God has given you, it's not a boring thing. It's never out of style. God will never take that as boring, you know. The Bible teaches us to come to God with a thankful heart, and then you present your prayers and petitions and requests. But first you have to come with a thankful heart, you know. You have to be, and this is the key. A lot of people want things in life, and I went through that. I learned my lesson. That's why I'm sharing it with you guys. But if you never learn to be thankful and content for where you are, you know, whether you have money or you don't have money, or whether you have a car or you don't have a car. There's always a reason to wake up and thank God and be thankful, you know. I don't know your relationship with God. I don't know how close you are or how far you are, but I encourage you to get close to God. You know, that stuff can go in any minute, and how are you gonna act, you know, when it's gone? So we have to learn to be content whether we have it or not. That's the key, that's the secret to being content at all times. That's what Uncle Paul in the Bible keeps, you know, he said it. I've learned to be content whether I have or I don't. And notice he said I have learned, meaning he himself had to learn. You know, it didn't just come like that. You know, God didn't just use his magic wand and all of a sudden Uncle Paul learned it. You know, no, he had to learn. Life had to teach him. So when he had to learn to be thankful. When he didn't have, he also had to learn to be thankful and content. And within 6 months, God opened doors and we purchased this house that we are in right now. And today, at least once or 3 times a day, I thank God for every inch of this house on purpose. So what's the message? It's short, simple. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard it, but I wanted to bring my story and I wanted to share it with you guys, and hopefully some of you can relate. And because it's easy to go on in life and want things, and because somebody else has it, so you think, oh, I should have it too, and then you get mad, you know, why can't I have it? Why can't I afford that? When you learn to be content with what you have, you know, even if you have a broken car, learn to be content, thank God that it still works, and say, but I'm trusting you, God, for something better, you know. Another thing that I want to share, you know, and I'm talking about things, you know, because in life there are a lot of people who have all this that we may not have, you know, and they're still not content, you know. Like, I've met a lot of people who brag so much about their money and how much money they have in their account, but I wonder what will happen, you know, what will happen to their attitude, to their faces, to their mouths, you know. What will happen to them when all that money is gone, you know? God forbid something happens, tomorrow you're poor, you know. Are you gonna know how to handle yourself? Are you gonna know how to act like a normal human being, whether you have or not? Are you gonna be treating others, you know? Because a lot of people, I've met a lot of people recently, you know, they treat you different when they just think, you know, oh, I got some money in my account. I even had a friend like that. She would brag all the time because she had so much money in the account, and I didn't even have a bank account. But that is not where my value comes from. That is not where my contentment comes from. You know, for me, and I think it should be for everybody, that to have God in your life, you know, that is everything, you know. And when you have God and you have a relationship with God, everything else will just come on its own, you know. God will bring it, you know. But you can't complain, you know, where you are, what you know, the job that you have. I mean, it's normal to complain. Everybody, it's natural. Everybody does it. Everybody goes through it. But don't let it turn into an attitude or a daily routine or something that you do it always, because you will never get out of there. You will never get out of that job, you know, if you all the time complaining about it, never content, never happy, you know, always complaining about customers or this and that, or always complaining about the house, you know, oh, you know, I can never get it clean, this and that, oh, I wish I had a better house and this and that. I am happy for this house 24/7. You gotta stay 24/7 almost to keep it clean and maintain it, you know. And yes, there are times when I complain, you know, and I whine, but right away God reminds me to correct my mouth, to correct myself, you know, because it can go like that, it can go away, you know. And so it's good to learn to be content with what you have, where you are. Yes, never settle, you know. Life, oh, there's always better out there, but being content is the secret to being happy as well. I don't know, I can't go any further than my husband. When we first married, we lived in a studio apartment, just flat out one room. Everything was together, the bed, the kitchen, the living room, everything in one room, the bathroom. But in my heart, you know, I mean, I was content, but I was like, I know there's better. And then we moved to a smaller apartment, a little bit bigger, but it was like a 1-bedroom apartment. And then eventually we moved into a railroad, still tiny. But what stuck with me is that throughout these years, and we've been married 9 years, but I've been here 8 years. My husband was the same. Like, even, I'm not kidding, even if today we were living in that studio apartment, he would have been the same, content, happy. He never complained, never whined. I was the one who always was complaining. I was the one who always pushing him, which I don't regret that, you know, because you always have to have somebody in life to push you, you know, and go forward and better. But what's interesting, you know, and I love that characteristic trait on him, is that he's the same right now that we have a house, or 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when we lived in a studio apartment. He was the same, content, no difference. I mean, he loves the place now here, and yes, we're thankful and grateful and we're in awe. But with him, it was like, you know, he's the same, you know, content, very content. And that is a lot of people, very few people have that type of personality, that type of attitude, you know, like always stable. And that's something that I always loved and enjoy. And I think I started learning from him, you know, to be content no matter what. And I mean, to move on into a bigger territory in your life, whatever it is, whether it's in your job, your health, like even if it's your health, you know, like yeah, you might be 200 pounds overweight, but at least thank God you don't have cancer. Thank God that you don't have a disease, you know, you have all your limbs, you have your sight, you have your ears, you have to learn to be content at all times, no matter your situation in life. That's my point, that's my message. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you learned something. Also, I want to leave my email below. If you guys have a question or you have a story that you want me to share here, I would love to share it. If you need advice, or you need me to give my input, my insight, I would love to help you guys. So I'm gonna leave my email below in the description box, and you guys can shoot me your story, your whatever questions you might have, and I will share them here. If you want to remain anonymous, let me know. Yeah, would love to share that. I want to do something new, so that's one thing that I want to add to my usual videos. Don't hesitate, write me. If you guys like this video and want me to do more videos like this, I will be sharing more personal stories now on. Definitely don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. So, and put the bell on, because YouTube is not sending the notification to everybody, which is sad, because we're almost at 2,000 subscribers, and the notifications definitely are not going out to all my subscribers, and it's sad. Be blessed. Bye.